Welcome to Board Game Homies, where a group of friends play, review, and share about all things board games. Sitting around the table today are
Reed, Becky,
Gillian.
and I am Angela. Today we're discussing Galactic Cruise, aka a game where you're a corporate tool sending others off to enjoy their lives while you keep plugging away in the office, and your girlfriend reminds you that when you die, you'll regret all the things you didn't do because you work so much. But first, what games are bringing you joy?
The game bringing me joy is Rumble Nation. So it is a recent import into the US, or I should say a recent local publication of a game that was first debuted in the 2018 Tokyo Game Market. And during that game market, actually won the Grand Award. And it's been somewhat available, I think. It was tricky to get in the US for quite a while, but they just released kind of a worldwide edition, and it just came into stock in the US as of end of May. And I just got that in, and I am excited to play it. It's kind of a dice-driven area control game that plays in about 30 to 45 minutes. And people kind of compare it a little bit to La Granja, in terms of how, not La Granja, El Grande, El Grande, and that it's kind of an area control game that is fairly abstract. And it just, I don't know, I've always loved Japanese history, and this is one that kind of takes place in Sengoku period where you're just kind of trying to control different regions. And so I was very excited when I discovered that it was getting a worldwide release on Cardboard East's YouTube channel. And so I ended up pre-ordering it right then and there and just got it.
I was like, oh, this game looks interesting, and then came over or did something, and Gillian's like, I also ordered Rumble Nation, and I was like, it's about right.
I also was going to ask if it was in our house, so
Yeah, it's right there, Becky, on top of Voidfall.
I do like it that it has foily writing on the box.
That's all Becky needs is just some gold foil in a box.
It's true. I love a foily, and I also love metal coins.
Your two great vices, Becky.
No.
The game bringing me joy is a game I started playing with Reed on BGA. Hello, get your G's and A's right. And it's just a card game, and I've talked about this before. It's a card game that I grew up with as a kid, but it's Gin Rummy. So Reed and I are playing it. It's a simple card game. It's a shedding game where you're trying to shed out all your cards by creating 3 or 4 of a kind, as well as runs of cards. Then you can play on to other people's runs of cards. And once you get down, then whoever sells cards scores negatives. And it's like a race to 500. Rummy 500 is also another way to play it. I don't know. It's just a game from my childhood that I really enjoy playing. And it's nothing fancy. It's literally a deck of cards on BGA. But yeah, I've been having a lot of fun with it.
That is one where every time my turn comes up, I get so excited. I love that game.
It sure would be nice if Angela would take her BGA turns.
I did not take my turns this morning, even though I said I would.
Or
You
yesterday.
said that yesterday.
I did take them last night, guys.
Well, Angela, you've been starting a lot of games and not taking your turns, and then we're just patiently waiting for you, or not so patiently waiting for you.
Geez, patient but not judgy.
Hey, I'm not judging. I don't play on BGA.
Thank you, Gillian.
Gillian doesn't have any turns that he's waiting on, so. The game I'm excited about is Ahoy by Leader Games. Brooke from Leader Games reached out to us on Blue Sky and offered to send us a copy, and we did get that a little while ago, but it's one of the games we've started to talk about as an option of one of the games we learn next and play, and so I'm getting pretty excited about it.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It's a highly asymmetric game, or maybe not highly. Well, each player plays somewhat differently, I suppose, so it is an asymmetric game. And you're essentially going around and exploring the map and trying to get fame as one of 4 different factions, 2 of which are fairly similar, or the exact same actually. But 2 of them are fairly different in what they're trying to achieve throughout the game. And so I am excited to try that. I was reading a bit about it once Brooke reached out to us, and it got me excited to play it. So I'm looking forward to trying that soon.
Yeah, I actually watched a video on it. I don't remember anything that was in the video, but it was pretty entertaining.
We are pirates, right?
Yeah. One person's the Bluefin Squadron, which is the one I want to play because they're sharks. Their little pieces are shark fins.
That is perfect for you.
Guys, we're just continuing the year of the ship, and that's actually super fun. Spaceships, boat ships, submarines that aren't really ships,
They're boats.
boat ships.
Guys, we're going to have to play Voidfall this year. It's ships or nothing.
Oh, no, it has been about a year since we played Voidfall at this point. That's sad.
Wait, no, we
Well,
haven't played Voidfall.
No, sorry,
at all.
since we got it. So
Oh
it's like
yeah,
a full year.
it's actually been over a year since we've had Voidfall.
Yeah.
Put it far away in your heart, guys. That one's hard.
No, it's the year of the ships. It has to be this year.
All right, 7 months and counting. 6 months and counting.
7 months.
7 months. Okay, well, I have a non-ship game to bring to the table.
Boo. Okay.
Oh,
Sorry.
get out of here.
One of my favorite games, a gateway game, a favorite game, a comfort game, whatever you want to call it, is Dominion. And Becky and I have been talking about playing Dominion for quite some time. Angela and I have snuck in a few games over the years. And then the other day, we actually snuck in a lunch break game. And it was great. Only we went for endpoint goals so much that we clogged up our hands and weren't able to do anything for kind of the second half of the play.
Yeah, it was not good.
I do think there's a water expansion for that one.
Yeah, I haven't played Dominion in a long time, and admittedly, I kind of wore out. Oh, I see what you're saying now. The water expansion to get the ships.
Is there ships? Ships? Yeah. I got
A
that.
little late to the game on that one.
Yeah, it was a little slow on the
Yeah,
pickup
it's
there.
good.
But yeah, I really like Dominion. It definitely wore out its welcome for me a little bit. I think it was like during the pandemic, I played it quite a bit online initially when the pandemic first started. And I think that just kind of wore it down for me. And there are just more interesting deck builders, but it's been so long since I played Dominion, I do want to revisit it. And I'm excited to try it again.
It's also a comfort game for me. And the pandemic times were great for my Dominion life. I just played so much online too. Much more than you.
Didn't you enter tournaments or something along that
I was
line?
going to, and then I got scared because then I had to like talk to people.
That's fair.
How many Dominion expansions do you have?
We got the necessary ones. We got Hinterlands, Prosperity, and one other. Oh, no, we didn't get Intrigue. Oh, it is the water one, actually. Oh, Malcolm agrees.
Also, don't you have them all like in a little suitcase?
Yeah. Little suitcase.
Actually, I have a question about how Becky plays Dominion. Do you all?
Mainly.
Yeah, that's what my question was. Do you all play with the curse cards and?
Only
Yeah, of course we play with curse cards. Why wouldn't we?
okay, but not always. We don't intentionally pick like the cards that add curse cards.
There's a really nice randomizer you can download on your phone, and it'll randomize. You just choose which expansions you have, and it'll randomize the setup for you.
Angela kept playing the mean card to me the other day, but the only thing it did was get rid of 2 of my cards, which were inevitably the estate cards, so it was fine.
I actually don't really like the cards that add curses in Dominion because I just get irritated that I have curses in my deck and I would rather not have them than be able to give them to people.
Yeah, I get it. Anyway, the expansions we have Dominion Prosperity, Dominion Hinterlands, and then we have Seaside. That was the third one. So it was the sea
I
one.
would
one.
like to play Sea Dominion. Dominion of the
Got
Sea.
boats and sharks.
I think that's the one that also has coins. Like you collect coins
What?
on little things. I don't know.
Oh, like external coins to the game, or are they cards?
Yeah, they came with the expansion.
Are they metal?
Obviously,
Well, I mean, that came with the expansion. We didn't buy them separately.
we would have.
Wow, I gotta say, I was not interested in playing Dominion. I can play that game once a year. It's not, it doesn't bring me levels of joy. I'm like, cool, awesome. I play Machi Koro with Ashton sometimes, and I'm like, cool, same principle. Cards, buy more cards, buy more cards. But kind of interested in the sea coins, if I'm gonna be honest. I'm here for a special coin.
Have you played very many of the expansions?
No.
We played one, but I don't remember what it was.
I really like the Prosperity one because you get Buka Bucks in that one, like with the cards that come with the expansion. And so it just feels like your engine gets started much faster because you get more money very fast.
But it
Becky
also,
doesn't like it.
Yeah, it stresses me out because then I'm not getting money fast enough, and you are, and I'm seeing your money.
Galactic Cruise, published in 2025, is designed by T.K. King, Dennis Northcolt, and Colton Thomas. The art is by Ian O'Toole. It's published by Kinson Key Games. It costs $118 American, and both expansions, advancements, and accommodations retail for $24 American each. I will say we did get a discount from the publisher for this copy, but how does it play? Hello and welcome to Galactic Cruise. Here we offer our guests something special, the comfort of a luxury cruise, with the innovation of space travel. As the first company to offer extended space vacations, we're excited to have you working for us. As a supervisor of this company, you'll be expected to not only build these shifts and satisfy our guests, but also help the company thrive by enhancing our company network, inventing new technologies, and growing our workforce. We are a united company, and you'll often find that what another supervisor does will make your job easier. Let me be clear, though, this is a competition. Our current CEO will be stepping down in 3 years, and the supervisor who comes out on top will take his place. On your turn, you'll either place a worker to take 2 actions in the ever-expanding network, launch a ship and send one of your workers to space as a pilot, or recall all your Earthbound workers to collect funding bonuses. This is a meeting. Actions include acquiring blueprints, constructing ships, attracting guests, and building developments, connections between locations that increase action selection throughout the game. You'll also be affecting resource markets that ebb and flow with the actions of all players. Throughout the game, you'll also be competing with your fellow supervisors to complete company goals, which will earn you progress cubes throughout the game. Progress cubes are also placed when you launch ships, and when a certain number of cubes are placed onto the company's progress track, the game ends, and the player with the most victory points becomes the new CEO of Galactic Cruise.
I will say this game has one of the best production values I've seen in any game recently, just in terms of what comes in the base game even. It's just insane. The quality of like the wooden chunky pieces that you use, the like workers that you put out onto the board, and the gears that you put on your actual personal board are just very satisfying in terms of their size. And then also the dual layered board that you have as your personal board is very, I think, as we always say, should be standard in any game, but here it is standard, and I really enjoyed that. I guess beyond kind of my personal positives of the game, the one thing that I think blew me away when I first saw it at Angela's house was just how big the base game box was. I was expecting more of kind of a flat Lacerda-esque like design, but this thing was about the same dimensions as that in terms of width and height, but then the depth was like 2 or 3 times greater than a typical Lacerda. So it's a beefy boy.
Yeah, she's heavy on the shelf, let me tell you. But I do appreciate, I ordered this from All Play, and we got the discount from Kinson Key Games. I did immediately turn around and use that discount to buy the upgraded coins and ads. One, because I don't own space coins, and that seemed fun, and the ads were really cool. But to be fair, the big box already came with space for the 2 expansions, so I kind of just tossed the 2 expansion boxes, and you can integrate it immediately with the game. And the rulebook has spaces for future expansions that come out. So I just, the minute you open it up, everything fits so perfectly, and they give you a little pamphlet that tells you how to put it all back in the box, which I'm like, oh my gosh, 10 out of 10, the production value. It's hard to say a game is worth $118 because that is very expensive. And also this game production is, you're getting your money's worth plus more, I would say.
The box is extremely thoughtful. Like you said, it has the room for the expansions, but it also provides like foam blocks to put in there if you don't have the expansion, so you're not having weirdness when you're trying to put the base game away. And even that, I appreciate every little thing that went into this game.
So the individual player pieces also come in something that's very clever and cute, which is they come in these little like spaceship shaped boxes with different compartments. So it's very easy to like plop down your player color and set up your mat, and it looks really good while doing it.
The graphic design in the game is also very functional, I would say, in that it doesn't necessarily suit my personal taste in terms of aesthetic, but I thought, as was the case with most Tool kind of art games, everything flows really well. It's very easy to pick out what you need to do and what goes where. And it's easy to see kind of the things you need to interact with on the board, be it the action spaces or where the action space tiles go, and kind of the shared market that you utilize and just the different components overall. And so the art on the game itself is also very good.
I will say, this could just be a Reed and Becky problem. However, we were the ones in charge of filling up the cruise ship plans.
Blueprints?
But no.
No, it's
The
like the
cruises?
journey.
The cruises,
Cruises.
Yeah.
I can't think what that tile's called.
Yeah, so basically you have to schedule a cruise. You have to schedule a flight. And so each little tile you put out will have what are the locations on that flight tile, be it a planet that's good for purple people, orange people, or blue people. That's not really what they're called, but for the simplicity, there are three
It's
different
like
colors.
families, adventures, or people
Cocktail
who,
enjoyers,
yeah, people who want
Chillin'.
partiers.
partiers.
And so you guys have to put out that tile every time.
Yes, and it does show on the board what steps you need to take. So you are moving people down because you can spend ads to add folks in there. And then you also are adding new people based on the colors of the new plan so that you will have those people available. But there's just something about the iconography on that side of the board that I think is a little confusing. It does walk it through on the or in the player manual, which I appreciate that. But just looking at it, I'm always like, oh, wait, what does that multicolored symbol with the equal sign mean? And what does that one do? But by the third game, we finally had it down.
By the end of the third game, we finally had it down.
That's true.
It's-
I was trying to make it sound
I
better
know,
for
it's
us.
not really intuitive because sometimes the color matters, sometimes it doesn't matter. And yeah, I would say that that is a struggle. And we did have to walk it through every time.
Yeah, because the new people you bring out, the number of people is based on the number of people that deuced out and said goodbye and left on that ship. But the color of those folks is based off of what is the new destination that came out. So even if purple and blue people left, if the new destination only has orange, only orange people are coming back. So it can get tricky.
Okay, why didn't you just explain it like that while Becky and I were struggling?
Because she was too busy thinking about what she was doing on her turn.
I know, but now I get that.
I got a whole other side of the board that I'm in charge of, which is putting the little cubes out in the progress track. So I got my own stuff to worry about.
Well, and Angela's saying it made sense, but I think when you just look at the iconography, it doesn't exactly make sense on its own. And in that same area, another thing that Rita and I did struggle with was also, Becky. What is that other part that we struggled with? It's like right there, sorry.
Winning?
Counting.
Joking. I'm sorry.
Oh.
That was rude.
On that same part of the board, we also struggled with when you advertise to customers and bring them into the plan that you have scheduled, because then you are also scoring based on how many of the customers' colors match the colors on the spaces, how many just spaces there are. And I think Angela and Gillian understood better than Reed and I did, but they also weren't looking at the symbols, trying to do it based on what the symbology was showing. So I do think there are a few spots where the symbology and iconography just doesn't quite make sense on its own.
Yeah, I mean, learning that game through iconography can be difficult for sure, but the kind of to circumvent that issue a little bit, I think the pamphlet they give you, the personal player aid, is also very helpful in terms of describing what each thing did. I will say it did omit some things that I felt that should have included. And I felt that was unfortunate because I don't remember exactly what it was, but there was something in 2 of our games I had to look into the main rule book for that I thought should have been in the player aid.
Yeah, I would say where this game missed a little bit for me is I want that rule book to be a 10. And when you first read through it, it feels like a 10. And then you play the game and it feels like a 7. And that's because some things are listed really clearly in the supplemental guide. They give you Like it'll say like what all of the specific tiles do, and then it won't tell you that for the expansion pieces, which they did build the expansion, some of it into the base rule book. And so to not see that reflected made it really choppy at times for us to be playing and being like, what does this thing mean? There's not an easy way. And so it's this juxtaposition of there is a really clear index on the back of the rule book. Great. Except the thing that I can't find isn't actually in the rule book, it's in the supplemental guide. And so I thought there were some misses around the rule book and the ease. And while I really enjoyed the player guide, same thing. There were some pieces that I thought could be in there for you that weren't. And so if I was going to dog this game, I would say that I would have liked to see the rule book. I see where the intention is, but I would like it to have nailed the intention.
Agreed.
I do like the way this game is modular, and also it feels like clever the way that on the main board where the actions are in the different factory locations, you can totally randomize it. Like they give you a recommendation for your first game where it puts actions that make sense together or like are really beneficial together are there. But in future games, once you know what you're doing, you can just randomly put them out. And I think that's a really clever way to change up the gameplay.
Yeah, there was a lot of replayability. The board is dual printed. So on one side is the base game that has the pieces that don't move. And then on the flip side is where you can change everything. And that is a thing that I really enjoyed, is how much variability there is in the technology tiles you unlock, the end game goals that you can put out, which of the expansions you're playing with, and then how this like action selection goes together. It felt really different to not play the standard game. And I think we all went, oh, these things that make logical sense together are very far away. So you couldn't easily combo. And I look forward to what other expansions could do. The designers of the game have said that the expansions, for the most part, is what they really wanted to put into the base game, but it was so much. So I think playing with all of those new expansion pieces makes it really fun, and I can see where they were going in terms of breadth and scope.
I am glad that we played the base game first, but I really appreciated the different like thinkiness and decision making that came in once we added the expansions. It just added this depth to the game that I found I really enjoyed.
I do think the industrial park area of the board where all those actions are on the different buildings is a little bit of a miss in the artwork for me. The player board is colorful. Your ships that you're building with the different rooms is also colorful. All of the player pieces and the customers together on the side of the board I was complaining about the iconography on. It's beautiful. Like that's my favorite picture that's going to be on the Instagram. But it's just kind of bland where the main actions are.
But is that thematic that we're not actually going on the cruises ourselves? We're stuck in this industrial park behind the scenes.
Yeah, have you ever been to an office, a travel office? Those are pretty bland.
Well, I mean, I think about Kanban Eevee. You're in a car factory, and the way that they did it is really nice.
Yeah, it's a lot of white and black though.
Yeah, but it has a lot of energy into it.
Yeah.
I don't think that this has like that industrial park area doesn't have the same energy that Kanban does.
Yeah, once again, have you been in an industrial park and sensed the energy there? I didn't.
Dogging on the energy.
That's true. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I mean, at its heart, this game is a worker placement game. So the workers that you're placing, for the most part, live in the industrial park area. And so it does get brighter because our people are there and they're very colorful. If they're not flying in space, they're just going in circles around like wherever you put them.
Yeah, and I would say the understated coloring of that area works well because not only are you putting your people there, but you're putting your little gear tokens out on the board, which have your own colors. So if they added a lot of color to that area, I think it would get more obstructed in terms of visibility and comprehensibility as you add more and more colors to it through the different player colors. So I feel like that kind of lack of color actually works well.
Those are fair points. I mean, I do think like Lisboa, the board itself, is very ornate and maybe too ornate, but for me, I still think this game swings way too far the other way, where I just wish it was a little bit more in that area.
Yeah, even the goal areas where you put your little cubes when you have some achievements or when you launch are very like gray and kind of stodgy.
Now, we've played this game a handful of times, but only at the 4 player count, and that's our normal player count to be fair, but I would be interested in what this game plays at 2 or 3, just because the game is very fascinating. There's this piece that they say in the rule book that when you finished the first year, you're putting in these cubes, and then the year ends when the priorities cubes are kind of like filled up, and then we have an annual AGM, it's called, an annual meeting, and we score points off of that. But the note in the rule book says you are now at the halfway point, which feels so weird because you've only finished 1 year, and so there's year 2 or 3. But it is very correct. The game moves very quickly after that point. It's because you've taken all this time to build your engine, and so we've only played it at 4, but I wonder how quick the game would feel because you add in specific tokens to block out squares in the 2 or 3 player game.
Yeah, in the first year, that kind of token template has more spaces in it than years 2 or 3. So it's kind of like a cue there of taking longer in general. So I feel like that little token helps enhance the length of year 1 relative to 2 and 3, in addition to the general kind of engine building that you progress throughout the game.
It's interesting that you can make this game shorter by adding neutral cubes to that area, so you have less time to fill those spaces.
Yeah, the starter game suggests that you put cubes in to block out some of those squares so that the game maybe moves quicker.
I do think at 4 players, this game is too slow. For me, there's too much time between my turns, and especially because once you launch and take cruises to space, you now have an extra step on your turn. And I felt like by the 3rd game, we definitely were faster on how that works because depending on what kind of location you're at, you get to either get bonus points or resources or money based on your matching people color and symbols on your ship, or you're landing in the different areas and getting victory points for, again, matching people. Well, I guess it's not matching, you just have to pay more ads if they don't match. But that just is on top of your turn. So, like, often we would either take our turn and then during this next or the person after that's turn, we'd like, oh no, I didn't go further in space. And so then we would have to do that. Or sometimes I would move forward in space and then forget to take my turn. I don't think I was the only one who did that, maybe. But that was a really interesting mechanic to me that by going up in space, which you want to do, it adds more to your turn.
I think that the length of the turns or the length of it kind of coming around to you, especially as the game goes on, it seems like we're going to space more, we're taking more turns, as you said. But there's not that like tension or anxiousness that you get in a worker placement game where you're blocked out of spaces because you can bump somebody else. And yes, they get resources, but you're more focused on what you can do in those spots. So I feel like that's kind of secondary. Like, I'm not going to not bump Gillian because he's going to get points from it or resources from it because it's something that I want to do. There are a few things like, oh, I might want these blueprints, or, oh, somebody's going to take my resources that I've built up, but it's not that, oh no, if I don't go soon, I have to like wait on the edge of my seat to see what Angela does so that I know what I can do. It doesn't feel like in between the turns you're thinking as much about that.
All of our games were over 3 hours, right?
No, they averaged 3 hours. There was one game where we were 2 hours 45 minutes, another where we were 3, and the other was 3 hours 15 minutes. The first was 3 hours and 15 minutes. And as far as kind of the tension, I would agree kind of both Reed and Becky there, in that I felt like the game went long and I had a lot of downtime between turns, and it was a little disappointing when there are turns where I just place my worker out and be like, oh, I know what actions I'm doing. I'm doing this. I'm getting resources. I'm good. You can go, Becky. And then it just felt like it was a while before it came back to me again. And the tension aspect was, really kind of disappointing to me. I just felt like there wasn't the tension there to keep me engaged necessarily, because by and large, I didn't really care what other people were doing. I was just looking at whatever cruises have been scheduled. And I'm like, I guess I have to choose between one of these remaining ones, which is fine. And I have to pivot a little bit, but not too much. And so that lack of tension, I feel like, didn't keep me as engaged as I was hoping the game would. Yeah, it was very strange plays. I enjoyed it. Like, I thought it was a pleasant experience, but I felt like it went a little too long and it wasn't as engaging as I thought it would be.
Maybe you need to take over Reed and I's jobs over on that side of the board.
That's true.
Wait, were we holding it up? Yeah, probably. We did take a long time to figure that out.
Well, but it usually wasn't on our turns, so that kept us occupied while Angela and Gillian
But
are
then
going,
when
we're
it
like,
came
"Oh."
to be our turns, we were like, oh, what are we going to do? Because we didn't have that thinking time.
So the problem might be Becky and Reed, or
Wow.
So
Yeah.
why don't the two of you try it at a 2-player version and see how it is?
Wait, no, I want to play 2-player for sure. I think I would like it better because you have less people in between your turns. And then I think it would be a better time.
I have this difficulty with opting to play it 2-player because I love being around the table with the three of you, and I feel like that outweighs wanting to play a 2-player game, so I struggle with that.
But sometimes it just happens. Like, Angela and I end up playing a lot of 2-player games, like not just in our lunch times, but Gillian doesn't feel well, you're out of town, which you're out of town less, but I don't know. I think it happens.
Yeah, we played a few games of Kanban 2 players and 2 players. But I do agree, the game is interesting in that your first action is to move your person in space. If your person's not in space, you don't do that action, which means if you're like Reed and you launch no ships after the first year, womp womp, you don't do that action. And so it's really hard to re-engage in that. And to be fair, other than maybe Becky got 2 ships up in the first year, it is actually, you'll get maybe 1 ship up. So then for the second part of the game, it actually feels longer because you may have multiple ships up in the air and doing a thing. Whereas like the first half of the game, you didn't do that. And that's to the thematic nature of when we were talking to Reed about the game and saying, like, you don't actually go on the cruise. You're selling the cruise to others and trying to be an industrial, like, complex CEO person. And that leaves an interesting piece of the things that you do in space aren't actually like the things that fuel a lot of the game. It's the corporate CEO part of getting more ads so that the advertisements draw more people in. Even when they're on the ship, you need the advertisements to trick them to go onto planets so that they can do the activities. But it's not actually about the activities, and it's not actually about you doing the things, which is interesting. It's what drew me to the game because I love being a supervisor and being like middle management forever. But it is not a game where you are like going to the planet and doing the interesting things.
But that impressing the CEO and that kind of thing, yes, you have those AGM goals or the annual general meeting goals, but there's not as much tension there. It's not a race to do these different things. You can always get more ads if you want more ads, unless you have no money like me. But in general, you're not stuck more than a couple turns away from getting what you need.
And even in those meetings, it seems that you would want to have a lot of cubes in those because it's scored on a multiplier based on how many of the corporate goals you've achieved, which is based off of how many corporate wings are showing, which comes from finishing corporate goals. And then it's a multiplier from the number of cubes plus the wings that are showing. And I thought that was really critical because the first couple of games, who won had done well there. And so this last game, I really focused on getting cubes out and getting my wings. And I lost again for the 3rd or 4th time. But Gillian had won that last game and had hardly any cubes out there. So, I mean, he did really well in other places, but it definitely didn't require that.
I will say that last play, I think, made me enjoy the game a little bit more, and that's because it demonstrated that you can play the game differently and still win, because I like the first two games we played, I thought you really just needed to go up the track, the end round or the yearly goals that you're trying to achieve through the corporate goals. I thought that was a pivotal way to score, and I thought that was the only way to win, really. And so the first two games I focused on that, but in the third game, Becky and Reed, I think, went really hard into putting those out, which once somebody scores a goal, it'll make it more expensive or harder for the next people to achieve. And so by that point, they bumped two of the three up, and those were the two that I was eyeing. And so I had to pivot my strategy, and I went for really just putting the families into space on family-friendly ships, so they give me reputation, essentially. And so that ended up being a viable strategy. And so I appreciated that demonstration that, there were multiple paths to victory in the game.
Though I do think it's hard to catch up once you've fallen behind. Maybe I'm just bad at games. I've been wondering this recently, but I think the last two games of Galactic Cruise, I fell behind and it felt very hard to try and catch back up. And spoiler, I did not catch back up.
This last game, I felt like I really finally had an understanding of the rules and the different components. I very much appreciate Angela and Gillian really diving deep into like how to play the game to be able to teach it. And so I still didn't have that grasp myself until playing it a few times. But the last game, especially with the expansions, just felt like I could hold the thread a little bit better. I had been really struggling with some of the like income and not having enough money. And then I realized it was because I was doing that wrong. And having played it a few more times, I was like, oh, okay, this is how you do it. So my turns felt like I had a better understanding and could kind of find the thread where I wanted to.
There are a lot of ways to win the game, I think, as I've seen. Gillian's going up the reputation track and then just spamming that a bunch. I was like, oh, this jerk. And he was able to get a ship up that let him get a ton of reputation, which just meant it was a ton of victory points. And we were not playing with the victory point module. When you take people up to space, you can score victory points if they're all a certain color. And we didn't play with that one because we'd played it in the first couple of games. And so there are all these unique ways that you can see. I will say that whilst there's not a lot of tension, I do enjoy the early game trying to put out as many of your gears that allow you to connect actions to each other, because there were times where Gillian fully was like, I could bump so and so, but he was like, but I'm not going to give you that benefit, and I have a gear that's going there, so here you go. And we were all like, no, bump me, please bump me. It's got kind of that apiary mechanic where when you get bumped, you get a little bit of something. But I really did like playing with all of the expansions. Like, it made the game just a tad bit more interesting in all of these different ways that you could play it. It almost opened up more paths to victory, I think, and made the game kind of more interesting off of the base game. I would suggest somebody start with the starters so that they can see kind of where the easy combos are, so that they can explore those base mechanics. And then I would say if you can get your hands on the expansion, since a lot of things are sold out, I would certainly add those to the game. The hard part is you're now looking at a game that maybe costs $160 instead of $118, so that's a lot to put in. This game feels and has been talked about as a Lacerda-esque game. How do you guys feel about that comparison, having played a few Lacerdas, not all of them certainly?
I honestly don't think it lives up to that name in a way. I would say it's a Lacerda light. It is, I feel like the lack of tension and the lack of player interaction, I would say, is kind of the dead ringer for me. We've only played two Lacerda games, and those are Kanban EV and Lisboa. And I felt like both of those were highly interactive, and I felt like I was very much engaged on other people's turns, like watching what they were doing, trying to figure out what my strategy was for reacting to what they were doing. I didn't feel that in this game at all, and so it didn't really feel like a Lacerda game to me. It just felt like a kind of a complex Euro. The main connection being tools art, I would say. That's my personal take anyway. I'd also say it wasn't as brain burny as a Lacerda either. I felt kind of going back to my original statement, it was a pleasant play, and I felt like it wasn't as taxing for me as a Lacerda game, where it was like after a game of Lisboa, it was like, oh.
I also think it's really interesting that the Lacerda games we've played have ended up being shorter. Like, we kept thinking we were going to make Galactic Cruise shorter, but it didn't really get much shorter.
I think the brain burning is what gets me really excited about playing a game. And if I had the choice between being like a middle management in a car factory versus a space cruise line, I would think that I would go for the space cruise, but I would pick Kanban EV 10 times out of 10 over this. I just think it's like the tension and the excitement that you get in middle management and balancing that. I never thought I would really be thinking like that, but I feel like this feels like a lighter game. It's not light, it's 3.88 or something like that. So it's pretty heavy, medium heavy. And I don't know if this is the game that I would want to play at that weight. It's long.
Yeah, probably overstays its welcome just a bit at the end. Again, we're playing it at a player count that's probably not going to turn out to be the recommended player count. I would assume 2 or 3 is going to be the recommendation on BGG. I think it's a really like step up worker placement game, like Gillian said, right? It's got a lot more rules that they're not finicky, but you have to remember a lot of pieces. So it's easy to miss some of those. And I think we had been scoring something strange. Oh, we hadn't been counting the bonuses for when you go to a planet, but none of us had done it. So we just decided not to score them. So it was slightly a lower score, but it didn't actually affect anything in the overall gameplay. But I think with the Lacerda game, certainly that we've played, there's a little bit more where, if this is going to sound weird, I feel stupid sometimes when I play a Lacerda game, and I didn't necessarily feel dumb playing Galactic Cruise. I was like, okay, these mechanisms make sense. I put a worker here, I get a thing. I bump a person, they get a thing. I get the blueprints, I get the ship. I book the cruise, I fly to space. I buy the blueprints, I get the ship, I get the people, I go to space. And so there was this like thing that kind of develops where you're like, I know that I have to get A to get to B to get to C. And along the way, there are shortcuts that make it easier to get to A, B, C, or D. But you kind of had to that was kind of the routine of the thing. That still had a lot of different ways to win within A, B, C, or D. But it didn't hurt my brain like I think Lisboa did in the first few plays.
Yeah, I mean, Gillian said you enjoy playing this game while you're playing it. Yes, I do. This is a very enjoyable game. I would not play this game again. I just feel like I don't know what I would necessarily like choose this over at this very moment.
I would go in if I wanted to play a Lacerda game, but I didn't have the mental power for it. I'd be like, oh, let's play Galactic Cruise instead.
But would you take that time though? Like, would you take 3 hours?
Maybe. I did enjoy that gameplay loop to an extent. Yeah. I mean, I would say more often than not, yeah. I'd play it. I will say, unlike Angela though, I wasn't a huge fan of the expansion content that we saw. The main ones that I liked were the asymmetric starting cards. Essentially, you get to take one of your upgrade tiles and put it out into one of the 3 colored spaces on your personal board, and the other being adding kind of a bonus to each individual space on the industrial board, where if there are 4 upgraded wheels or cogs out there, it'll flip and activate, so you'll get a bonus whenever you go there. But I thought that those would like speed up the game, but it kind of slowed it down a little bit, which was surprising. Or maybe it was just we as a collective were just slower overall.
What did you think about the blueprints, having to match them up?
I thought that was superfluous. Honestly,
okay.
I thought that was superfluous.
Becky and I had a side conversation that I don't think that you all heard the last time that we played. I liked that because before I've had such a struggle of deciding which blueprint. Doesn't matter if it's color. What do you do? Some of them are worth more than others, and I have struggled every single time, and it took that away. Like it was like, oh, if your people don't match in the same spot because you have to match the top and bottom of a slot to put a person, then you can't put them together. And it took that stress away from me. So I was like, oh, I need this one. I need that one. And that was a lot easier for me to manage.
Yeah, Becky and I talked a little bit about that as well. And I think one thing that like always guides my decision is, what am I aiming for? Like, what kind of people am I trying to get onto my cruise? Am I trying to get the families? Am I trying to get the adventure type people? And that always guides the segments that I purchase, the blueprints that I purchase. And so that should, in my opinion, be the focal point of getting blueprints. Like, what is your overall objective in terms of entertainment for your guests versus, oh, are these guests sleeping on the left side or right side of my ship? And I felt like that was a little superfluous.
Oh my God, you sounded like a cruise manager there. It's really about
It's
the
perfect.
guests.
It's actually funny that you're saying this because as you were talking about like what type of guest you want, I was like, oh, I kept going for orange because it was matching what I was doing, but the orange bonus was resources, which was not beneficial. And I went to space so many times in this game. I did so well, but I should have picked another color to focus on that would have given me victory points because I just got more resources. I can't do everything in a game.
Yeah, and the third, we only played with 3. I think the third were the upgraded technology tiles at the top, which was an interesting like progression type. So whenever somebody upgraded it and then utilized it, it would advance along this track and it would get steadily more expensive as the game progressed for people who hadn't developed it yet. And then by the end, it was a more valuable upgrade. So instead of giving like one resource whenever you get income, one additional resource whenever you gain income, you get to gain 2 from kind of the reputation track bonuses. And so I thought they were just slight tweaks, I think, to the base game ones. But I honestly felt like the overhead there was once again just a little much for what it provided. I'm nitpicking on all these things, but that's how I felt.
I also find it funny. I think we've talked about our own metas in this game. We are not a people that enjoys benefiting others around the table. So Gillian being like, I could bump you, but I won't. I'm going to use all of my technology tiles. We did not pay each other for things unless we absolutely had to, because once you unlock a technology, it's open for the whole table to use. And did we say, no, I'm just going to suffer. I'm not going to give you this single dollar to use your technology. And then the more technology tiles there, the more expensive it gets. Our answer to that was, I'll just build the technology there. And so I don't know that we explored kind of, because we're jerks, what that could have done. Or is it not really a mechanic that people end up using? There's a funny observation of how we play, which is, very rarely do we part with our money for others.
It's hard to say if that's just because it makes strategic sense to not help each other, or are we just playing it wrong and really you should be utilizing like, oh, you spent all that money and resources to build that cog. Like, I'm just going to give you $1 to use it or $2 to use it. I think about brass when I had read like, what do you do when you run out of iron pieces, cubes? And they're like, well, you're playing wrong. You need to use other people's iron. You shouldn't all be building your ironworks. Like, you're doing it wrong if you've run out of iron cubes. So I kind of wonder if it's a little bit of that.
Also, your comment really makes me want to play Brass Birmingham. I was like, I don't know. Let's try and use all the iron.
Well, surprise, it's set up under the microphones. Just kidding. It's not, but it could be.
But it's not.
But it's not.
But it could be.
But it's not.
It can be.
Let's do it. I'm going to ask a question I always ask time and time again. Who is Galactic Cruise best for?
People who know how to count down from 5.
Oh my God, Reed.
That rules out Reed.
You didn't have to tell people you messed that up.
Now we have to talk about it.
Oh God.
I tried there was this excitement when you blast off. You have to like prep it and you go down 5, 4, 3, 2,
No.
1.
It's Reed screaming 5, 3. Wait, 4. 1. No. 2. But like really loudly and being wrong. It was
She's excited.
kind of sad.
I thought it was hilarious, and it brought joy to me during the game.
Your follies make us giggle.
Well, it's a fun moment. Like the blasting off or going into space is a fun moment. You've done all this work to get there. You don't get to go. You're still in the industrial park, but somebody does.
You send one of your salary men up there.
I think this is a really hard question to answer. I think if you can get a discount on it, that's probably step 1 of if you want to buy this game, because it really is expensive. I mean, the components, it's not worth that amount. And if you think about the amount of hours you play it, like the price per play or price per hour is going to be pretty great if you play it multiple times. But I'm kind of like what Reed was saying, what am I going to choose over this game? And I would really like to play Kanban EV. I'm not sure who I would suggest it for. I don't think people should not buy it.
Yeah, this is a difficult one because it's not. While I said it's a Lacerda light, that was kind of just a funny note because it is still a very heavy game. What is it? You said 3.88, something like that. So it's not light by any means. It's still a heavy game, or medium heavy. I don't remember the BGG rankings there. So it has a lot of complexity just built into how things intertwine, much like a Lacerda. But having played Lacerdas and enjoyed them immensely, I felt like this was lighter. So I would say people that are accustomed to playing heavier games and don't have issues with kind of the additional overhead or kind of the minor rules that you have to keep track of. And that's kind of where I would draw the line, or people who are interested in trying those. I felt like this is a nice entryway to a Lacerda, maybe. Step up in complexity, kind of in the same vein as like Age of Innovation or Terra Mystica in terms of the complexity. Much different playing games than those two, but that's kind of what I would say. If you're a fairly experienced gamer and you're interested in a heavy game, this might be one to give a try. It's enjoyable, yet not as brain burny as some of the Lacerda games or some of the more complex games out in the world. Looking at you, Voidfall.
I feel like it is what you said, Gillian. It's a worker placement game with a lot more pieces to it that has positive bumping. So somebody who doesn't love a mean game, because it's not mean in any sort of way, but loves placing out workers, getting resources, and doing a thing in a linear fashion, that definitely has more rules. So don't attempt it if all you really love is like Flip 7. It's not the wheelhouse for you for sure. But if you've like been interested in a Lacerda-ish game, but you are like, no, I would still say this game is easier than having to deep dive a Lacerda game. And it makes a lot of sense where you're going, but it is not as brain burny, but it is a lot to keep your fingers on the pulse of what's going on. It is kind of a bear to teach if you have a game group that doesn't play this level of games. I think the production is really great. I would suggest this game for a game that you go over to your friend who has the game and you're like, yeah, this is what it is. Or you see it being played at a convention and somebody's already played the game. I think the cost is a part of it. Like that's a really big barrier. If you get both expansions, you're looking at almost $160 or $118 for the base game. That's a big investment for a game. But I do enjoy it. Like I do appreciate it being in my collection. I also agree with Gillian. Sometimes I don't want to play Lisboa. Like we played Lisboa back to back and I said, no, I think my brain hurts and I'm good. There are just days where your brain's just not up to playing Lisboa. Kanban, I think, skews on the lighter side of that, so it's weird to say, like, but I could play Kanban. But there is a world where you already have Galactic Cruise set up, and you're like, cool, let's eat some pizza and play Galactic Cruise, and I don't have to think super hard, and I'm going to delve into this game and find the pieces. So I think that's who it's for. Like, don't make the investment unless you really love positive worker placement.
Malcolm doesn't like positive worker placement.
No.
I'm going to say something, but it could be totally wrong. So,
Oh, is this
that's
your
fine.
controversial take?
No, it's not a controversial.
Dang.
Oh.
This game is new. It's just coming out. We're playing it for the first time. It's clearly been play tested. There's a lot of effort that's in. And I wonder if some of the stuff is going to become tighter and like updated rules or in the future expansions to kind of help with that. And I don't know if that's normal in playing a new game, but it just feels like maybe some of the mechanics or rules need to be tightened a bit.
Yeah, what an interesting point. Because I definitely, just a game we've been talking about, I think I love Lisboa way more with that one card that's the queen that suddenly ends the game. It makes it, for me, weirdly, a very different game, not knowing when the end game is going to happen. And it looks like, because Kinson Key Games is new and this is their only game that they've made, and it's run by the dudes that made the game originally, that expansions seem like the next step for them to keep building out the company. So I do wonder if there's something that'll come in that has more of a negative tint, or like makes it more punch you in the face, giving your opponents negative points or things like that. I wonder if that'll come out as a future expansion.
Also, just to correct you, the queen card doesn't end the game. It basically just negates the ability to get end game tiles.
Okay, Gillian's correction corner.
I just wanted to make it clear. We've been talking a lot about Lacerdas. I just wanted people to know you didn't play it wrong. Final thoughts, Reed?
Thematically, I absolutely love this game. I love all the content. I love that kind of like the teaser that Angela read at the beginning. And I think that the idea of Space Cruise is really phenomenal. And I did have a lot of fun while playing this game. I struggle with longer games and kind of having the stamina to like make it through, especially when there are ones that have like limited player interaction. But I would say that I enjoyed every play that we had.
I will say it started off kind of rocky for you, because when we first told you the premise and the actual gameplay of Galactic Cruise, you were distraught that you didn't get to go into space yourself.
Well, when there are cool things like a botanical garden or a tea room, and you don't get to do any of those things or go to the bouncy deck, I kind of thought that we would like be going and experiencing those things to some level, or have the spaceships that we built out dictate what we did, but they didn't. And so I just like, maybe I just would rather be on the space cruise working and helping than being in the industrial park.
So you want to be the person told to go out to space and govern these
like
folks.
the expendable person that you're like, oh, risk management says we can't take someone who's worth anything up there. Yes, I would like to be on the spaceship.
Yeah, Reed needs to play a game where she like gets to explore some sort of like getaway place where she can go to the spa a bunch.
Or like coordinate details more. I feel like I wasn't coordinating somebody else's experience other than being like, you fit on this, so you go here.
Maybe that will be the next Galactic Cruise universe game.
Yeah, some sort of resort that people go to, and then you're actually just managing that instead.
Angela, what are your final thoughts?
Well, my friends who are like, I don't know how I feel about this game, flips over table, burns $160 copy of Galactic Cruise. I liked it. I think it's a game that I'm happy to have in the collection. I don't know how often, much like big box games, it'll get to the table. And that's always my concern, and why I try to have a collection that's big games and small games. So I like that. I also, like with most things, I'm sad if I don't get it to the table a few times a year, and I don't know if it will. And so that's a bummer. But maybe it's a good convention game that I bring out and play with others who have never played it. It would be 6 hours, but that's fine.
I actually like the idea of having a game. I'm enjoying having games that we know the rules to and can just pull out at different times. So I would see this coming to the table at least a few times a year.
I would say, like, unless we play it like within 2 or 3 months, I feel like the rules overhead will increase and it'll be hard to get to the
Yeah,
table.
it will literally leave our brain. We were talking about playing to Kanban, and I was like, I gotta just skim the rule book at the very least, because it's a lot.
That said, it is simpler than Kanban, so maybe it'll be easier. No.
You're
Becky.
supposed to launch spaceships.
Yeah. Reed, launch spaceships.
She did. She did.
Good job, Reed.
Thank you. I felt very proud of myself. I was the first person to launch a spaceship on our last game.
Becky, final thoughts?
I think this game is interesting. I enjoy looking at my side of the board where it's very colorful, even though I'm not good at my jobs, apparently. And I don't think that I would refuse playing the game. Refuse is an intense word. I don't think that I would veto playing this game. I would play it. I don't think I would request it, though, mainly because of the length and just like, for me, how long it takes between turns. And especially like Gillian had said way earlier, sometimes on your turn you just do like one or two, like two quick things, and then it goes on to the next person. It definitely kind of gives me some SETI vibes in terms of downtime between turns. And that's where I think I struggle the most. I do like that when you get bumped, you then get an income, which is entertaining and helpful. But if you don't have any people out on the board, you're not going to get bumped, which was part of my problem in the last game. But I don't know what I want to say.
I think you've said a lot, and you've just signed yourself up to play it 2 players with me, where we'll never bump each other and get everything done very quickly.
And actually, I'm curious in the 2-player game if the flights that you can schedule vary very much, or if it's fairly static in a 2-player game. Likewise, the segments, I wonder if those are stagnant.
There's more blocking segments.
Oh, okay.
You put out 3 tiles instead of the 1 in a 4-player game, and the available cruises, there are 2 less options. You block those off as well in a 2-player game.
I am looking forward to a 2-player game, and I do want to play that. I think I'll enjoy it more.
Galactic Cruise is a game that I was very curious about once it came, not quite to retail, but just as the Kickstarter was fulfilling, because you started to see it on everybody's Instagram and different socials. And it really piqued my interest seeing it in that kind of setting. And I will say when we got it, I was excited for it. And even now, like, I did enjoy it and I would certainly play it again. But I feel like it didn't quite live up to the hype for me, just based on kind of all the accolades it got. I felt like I was expecting a bit more than what it provided for me personally. And so it's a game that I would certainly play. I would probably request it from time to time as well, despite kind of the downtime concerns I have, because I did enjoy my plays of it. It was just the downtime for me and the length of the game were the 2 things that really kind of bothered me. Everything else I thought flowed fairly well, and I would like to give some of the expansions a shot, the ones that we haven't tried yet. It's just a bit more iconography overhead to learn those things. But I am excited to get back into Galactic Cruise again.
This is really late to be asking this question, but is this a point salad game?
I don't think so, because point salad,
It's like literally everything you do gives
Gets you points.
Yeah, I feel like you had to work hard to get points,
Yeah.
and I had to work hard to get points, and like Gillian maybe like went up that track, but there were other ways that we were struggling because that wasn't open to us. Like we couldn't get stars.
yeah, until you go to space, you have like 3 points for half the game.
Okay, I retract that question.
Unless you specifically like take that as your income, a point for income, which doesn't get you anywhere.
Well, at the end I got 2, and so I was really weighing like every time I got income, is this worth the 2 points or the dollars to get something else?
It is by the end of the game, I'd say. Like
Yeah.
that 2 points, like, yeah. That's where it's at. That's how Angela skyrocketed in the second game.
Love me some points, baby. Thank you for listening to Board Game Homies. Launch into space with us on our Instagram, Blue Sky, or Board Game Geek account at Board Game Homies. Bye-bye. Well, this is not a Cole Worley designed game, but it does get me excited for more ship-based games that we seem to be playing this year. So
Wow, way to
it's 10 out
correct
of
us.
10.
Cut that out. Cut that out.